Hi everyone, my name is Austin. I'm going to be doing an informal talk on Commander Theodore Roosevelt Johnson and his speech on the power of I am when it comes to your name. Um, I think he shows competency within this talk by going into like the Roman sayings of how your name can equal and will oftentimes equal your destiny, and how they believed that vehemently, and how that relates to modern day, that our parents didn't name us any old Joe Schmo name because it was just any old name. They give us names that have meaning and power behind them, and that means something to them, either a familial name or a name that projects influence or projects a certain image. He also goes in and talks about examples of patronyms of people that are fortunately or unfortunately named after the thing that we remember them for, or either named that are later known by what we remember them for. For example, we have Usain Bolt, fastest man alive, and his last name is Bolt. Irony, or the coincidences, right? Then he also gave a scientific study or evidence of a study that was done from 1901 to 1975 in the life expectancy of African American men had their first and second names or first and middle names after celebrities or famous people, and how oftentimes those men would live 3 years longer than those who were given a more generic name or named that or were not named after someone who was a famous person. I thought that was fascinating personally, and I think he showed his character by softly establishing his military rank. He doesn't say, I am Commander Theodore Roosevelt Johnson. He did it in a not self deprecating joke, but a joke at himself of how he would meet the president. And I think that kind of, to me, established, and I chose that to establish his character because you don't get to be a commander in the military, especially one who gets to meet the president of the United States, by not being someone of character, especially in the modern day versions of the military. And because I think that they've seen how that has so radically affected outside of the military culture. So it's nice to see that they emphasize that now in a little bit more in the military. Um, but back to the point of by him softly putting that in, he's not being all braggadocious about it and all chin up and I am so and so, and it's like, but it's a more confident and humble way. And I think a big part of character is being humble and humility, and he shows it here. He also shows his charisma in this way. I think he showed it by how composed and polished he was. He wasn't speaking too fast and wasn't speaking too slow. His thoughts were coherent. Um, he, despite making jokes at himself and how he would meet the president, like, let's just take that in for a moment. I think we all would be in the same boat of meeting, oh my gosh, we're meeting the President of the United States. What am I going to say? How am I going to introduce myself? And he kind of alludes to, he thought about, practice it, and then eventually he just like, let's just go with it. I am. And how the power of I am, as opposed to saying my name is. And I love it, the power behind I am, because you take ownership of your name, of who you are. I am Austin Douglas. I am Theodore R. Johnson. I am Commander so and so. I am, put your name. And how that really can lead to taking control of who you are, and that can show who you are. Um, and then I think he shows that he cared about his audience by not shying away from talking about the fallacies of society and the not so in the harsh realities as well of the early 1900s. I mean, when Theodore Roosevelt had that the first ever African American man in office and invited him over for dinner, and along with Booker T. Washington, that was not accepted by society at the time. And again, Commander Johnson did not hold back. He verbatim quoted how an area newspaper thought about the situation, and I think that shows that he cared for his audience by not shielding them. Sometimes to show and to have change, you need to have an understanding of the harsh realities. And then also he showed that he cares by the fact that when he talked about his personal story and the legacy of how Theodore Roosevelt became a familial name, he got really choked up and emotional by it. And I love to see that as well. And seeing the personal connection that was able to make and establish. So yeah, I'm glad that I chose this one. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts and speech on Commander Johnson. Everyone have a good evening.